There is a command that appears in the Bible over 300 times, spoken by prophets, by angels, by the voice of God Himself, and by the Christ. It is not a suggestion. It is not advice. It is not a comforting platitude offered to soothe troubled hearts. It is a command, direct and unequivocal, given with the full authority of the universe behind it. That command is, fear not. And yet, despite its frequency, despite its importance, despite the power it carries, it remains the most disobeyed command in all of Scripture. Humanity lives in a prison of fear, shaking behind bars that do not exist, cowering before enemies that have no substance, retreating from opportunities because of shadows on the wall. But I tell you today that when you understand the true meaning of fear not, when you obey this divine command with your whole heart and mind, every door that has been closed to you will swing open. Every obstacle will dissolve. Every limitation will vanish like mist before the morning sun. Fear is not just an emotion. It is a force, a creative power that operates according to spiritual law. What you fear, you attract. What you dread, you bring upon yourself. Your fear is a magnet that draws to you the very thing you wish to avoid. And the universe, being utterly impersonal and mechanical in its operation, must deliver to you the substance of your dominant mental attitude. If that attitude is fear, then fear-filled experiences will be your portion. This is why the command is given with such urgency, such repetition, such divine insistence. God knows that your fear is creating your hell, that your worry is weaving the net that entangles you, that your anxiety is building the walls of your prison. Job, the ancient sufferer, understood this law perfectly when he cried out, "The thing which I greatly feared is come upon me." He was not speaking poetically. He was describing the precise operation of spiritual law. His fear had been so intense, so sustained, so focused, that it became a creative visualization, a prayer in reverse, a constant affirmation of disaster. And because thought is creative, because consciousness determines experience, because the invisible always precedes and determines the visible, his fear manifested as reality. What Job feared came upon him not because God was testing him or punishing him, but because fear is creative force, and it must produce after its kind just as surely as an apple seed must produce an apple tree. Consider for a moment the architecture of your own life. How many doors have remained closed to you not because they were locked from the outside, but because you were too afraid to turn the handle? How many opportunities have passed you by not because you were unqualified or unworthy, but because fear whispered its lies and you believed them? How many relationships have ended not because of incompatibility, but because fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, fear of loss caused you to build walls instead of bridges? How many dreams have died in your heart not because they were impossible, but because fear painted such vivid pictures of failure that you never took the first step? Your fear has been your jailer, and you have been a willing prisoner, bowing down before it as if it were God. But fear is not God. Fear is a liar and the father of lies. Fear shows you images that have no basis in truth. Fear projects futures that will never come to pass. Fear magnifies dangers and minimizes your capacity to handle them. Fear is false evidence appearing real, and when you recognize it as such, when you see through its illusions, when you withdraw your belief from its lying prophecies, it loses all power over you. This is why the command is not, "Try not to be afraid," or "Do your best to overcome fear." The command is absolute. Fear not. Do not entertain it. Do not negotiate with it. Do not give it a seat at your table or a voice in your decisions. Cast it out completely, utterly, without compromise. I knew a woman who lived her entire life in fear. She feared poverty, so she hoarded every penny and lived like a pauper though she had adequate means. She feared illness, so she obsessed over every symptom and turned her body into a battlefield. She feared loneliness, so she clung desperately to relationships that had long since died, suffocating the very people she hoped to keep close. She feared death, so she never truly lived, never took risks, never followed her heart, never stepped outside the narrow boundaries of what felt safe. And in the end, every single thing she feared came upon her. She died alone, in poverty of spirit if not of purse, her body ravaged by psychosomatic illness, surrounded by the ruins of relationships she had destroyed through her fearful grasping. Her life was a testimony to the creative power of fear, a living demonstration of spiritual law operating with mathematical precision. But it does not have to be this way. You have within you right now the power to break free from fear's dominion. You have access to a force that is greater than any fear, stronger than any anxiety, more powerful than any worry. That force is faith, and faith and fear cannot occupy the same space any more than light and darkness can exist in the same room at the same moment. When you turn on the light, darkness does not fight back or resist or struggle to maintain its position. It simply ceases to exist. It is displaced instantly and completely by the presence of light. So it is with faith and fear. When you activate faith, when you claim your divine inheritance, when you stand in the truth of your being, fear cannot remain. The command, "Fear not," is always followed by a promise, and understanding this connection is crucial to your liberation. The angel says, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings." God says, "Fear not, for I am with thee." Christ says, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Do you see the pattern? The command to release fear is inseparable from the assurance of divine presence, divine provision, and divine protection. You are not being asked to stop fearing and then face life alone, vulnerable, and unprotected. You are being told to stop fearing because fear is unnecessary, inappropriate, and contradictory to the truth of your situation. You are surrounded by infinite power. You are sustained by infinite love. You are guided by infinite intelligence. What then shall you fear? This is the great paradox that humanity cannot seem to grasp. You fear because you believe you are alone, separate, dependent on outer conditions for your safety and well-being. But the truth is that you are never alone, never separate, never at the mercy of circumstances. The same power that holds galaxies in their courses, that keeps your heart beating without your conscious effort, that causes seeds to sprout and seasons to change, is operating in your life right now. This power knows no obstacles. It recognizes no impossibilities. It is not intimidated by your problems, confused by your situation, or limited by your resources or lack thereof. This power is God, and God is omnipotent, which means all-powerful, which means there is no power that can oppose it, resist it, or defeat it. When you truly understand this, when it moves from intellectual concept to living conviction, fear becomes absurd. It is like a child being afraid of the dark while sitting in their father's lap. It is like worrying about drowning while standing on solid ground. It is like trembling before a painted lion or fleeing from your own shadow. Your fear is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of who you are and where your help comes from. You think you must navigate this life alone, using only your limited human strength, wisdom, and resources. But this has never been true. You have never been alone for a single moment. You have never taken a breath without divine assistance. You have never solved a problem without divine intelligence flowing through you. You have never been sustained by anything other than the infinite life force that is God. But here is where most people stumble. They want to see the entire path before they take the first step. They want guarantees, evidence, proof that everything will work out before they will release their fear and move forward. This is backwards. This is trying to make the invisible wait upon the visible, the cause bow to the effect, the creator serve the creation. Faith does not require proof. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You cannot wait for the fear to leave before you act. You must act, and the fear will leave. You must step into the dark, and the light will appear. You must turn the handle, and the door will open. I will tell you about a man who received an opportunity that terrified him. He was offered a position of great responsibility, far beyond anything he had done before. Every fear rose up to meet him: fear of failure, fear of inadequacy, fear of exposure as a fraud, fear of letting people down, fear of losing what he already had. His mind painted vivid pictures of disaster. He could see himself failing publicly, humiliated, ruined. The safe path was to decline, to stay where he was, to avoid the risk. But somewhere deep within him, beneath the noise of fear, a small voice spoke the ancient command: "Fear not." He did not feel brave. He did not feel confident. His hands shook as he accepted the position. But he accepted it. What happened next astonished him. The moment he committed, the moment he stepped through the door despite his fear, everything changed. Ideas came to him that he had never had before. People appeared to help him whom he had not known existed. Opportunities opened that he could not have predicted. Strength rose within him that he did not know he possessed. It was as if the universe had been waiting for his decision, holding back a flood of support until he demonstrated his faith by taking action despite his fear. Within 6 months, he was thriving in the position. Within a year, he could not imagine having made any other choice. He later told me that fear had almost cost him the greatest opportunity of his life, and that the command, "Fear not," had saved him. This is how spiritual law operates. The door does not open before you approach it. The path does not illuminate before you step onto it. The provision does not appear before you need it. God is not in the business of satisfying your demand for proof before you demonstrate faith. Faith comes first. Action comes first. Obedience to the command, "Fear not," comes first. And then, always, inevitably, without fail, the demonstration follows. The door opens, the way appears, the supply manifests, the help arrives. But you must move first. You must fear not first. Now, I must address a common confusion. To fear not does not mean to be reckless, foolish, or irresponsible. It does not mean to ignore real dangers or to act without wisdom. There is a difference between divine caution and paralyzing fear. Divine caution is the still small voice of intuition that says, "Not this way," or "Wait," or "This is not your good." It is calm, clear, and certain. It does not agitate you or fill you with anxiety. It simply guides you away from what is not aligned with your highest path. Fear, on the other hand, is loud, chaotic, and compelling. It fills your body with tension, your mind with racing thoughts, your imagination with catastrophic scenarios. It does not guide, it paralyzes. It does not protect, it imprisons. Learn to distinguish between these two voices. When you feel the stirring of fear, pause and ask, is this divine guidance or is this fear? Divine guidance will always lead you towards something, even if it is leading you away from a particular path. It will feel like movement, like flow, like rightness. Fear will feel like contraction, like freezing, like wrongness. Divine guidance says, this is not your door, but your door is coming. Fear says, all doors are locked against you. Divine guidance says, wait for the right timing. Fear says, you've missed your chance forever. Divine guidance says, this person is not your match. Fear says, you are unlovable and will always be alone. There is a spiritual principle that you must understand if you are to walk in fearless faith. The thing you fear loses its power the moment you face it directly. Fear feeds on avoidance, on hiding, on pretending the threat does not exist, or hoping it will somehow go away on its own. But when you turn and look fear straight in the eye, when you confront it with consciousness and speak truth to it, it dissolves like fog before the sun. This is why the command is not, hide from your fear, or ignore your fear, or wait until the fear goes away. The command is active, immediate, and unconditional. Fear not. Stop fearing. Cease the activity of fear right now, in this moment, regardless of circumstances. You accomplish this through the power of the spoken word. Your word is your wand, and with it, you are constantly creating your experience. When you speak words of fear, you are decreeing fear into manifestation. When you say, "I'm afraid I'll lose my job," you are not simply describing a feeling, you are giving creative power to that outcome. When you say, "I'm terrified of being alone," you are setting forces in motion that will produce that very loneliness. When you say, "I'm worried sick about my health," you are literally making yourself sick with your worry. Your words are not passive descriptions of reality. They are active creators of reality. This is the law, and it operates with or without your conscious awareness. But the reverse is also true, and this is your great hope and your mighty weapon. When you speak words of faith, you are decreeing faith into manifestation. When you say, "I fear not, for God is with me," you are establishing divine presence as the dominant reality in your experience. When you declare, "I am divinely protected, guided, and provided for," you are setting into motion forces that must produce protection, guidance, and provision. When you affirm, "There is nothing to fear, for perfect love casts out all fear," you are activating the law of love, which is the highest law in the universe and supersedes every other law, including the law of fear. I knew a woman who was diagnosed with a serious illness. The doctors gave her statistics, probabilities, timelines, all the fearful information that the medical mind believes necessary to share. Every statistic was a suggestion of fear. Every probability was a prophecy of doom. Every timeline was a death sentence dressed in clinical language. She listened to all of it, and then she made a decision. She would not accept these fear-based predictions as her truth. She would not speak words of fear. She would not imagine scenarios of decline and suffering. Instead, she began a practice of fearless speaking. Every morning she would stand before her mirror and declare, "I fear not, for God is my health and my salvation. Every cell in my body is filled with divine life and light. I am whole, well, and radiantly alive. This illness has no power over me, for there is no sickness in divine mind, and divine mind is the only reality." She spoke these words not as wishful thinking, but as royal decree, as one who knows her authority, as one who understands that her word is law in her own experience. She refused to discuss her illness in fearful terms. When people asked how she was feeling, she would say, "I am healing perfectly." When they offered sympathy or pity, she would thank them and redirect the conversation to life, to health, to gratitude. Her doctors were baffled when, at her next examination, the illness had not progressed as they predicted. At the following examination, it had begun to reverse. Within a year, she was pronounced completely healed, and her doctors had no medical explanation for what had occurred. But she knew. She had obeyed the command, "Fear not." She had refused to give creative power to the diagnosis. She had denied fear the right to speak into her future. And in doing so, she had activated forces in the invisible realm that produced healing in the visible realm. This is not miracle. This is law. Now you must understand that fear is often disguised as prudence, wisdom, or realistic thinking. People will tell you that you must face reality, or be practical, or prepare for the worst. But what they are really saying is, you must fear. You must imagine disaster. You must give power to negative outcomes. This is not wisdom. This is fear masquerading as responsible adulthood. True wisdom trusts the divine order. True prudence takes reasonable precautions while maintaining inner peace and positive expectancy. True realism recognizes that the ultimate reality is spiritual, not material, and that spiritual law supersedes material conditions. When you refuse to fear, people will think you are naive, in denial, or dangerously optimistic. Let them think what they will. You are not living according to their consciousness. You are not creating your experience from their beliefs. You are standing on spiritual law, And that law is more reliable than any material fact, more certain than any statistic, more powerful than any circumstance. The person who fears not is not ignoring reality. They are choosing which reality to give their allegiance to. Will you bow before the appearance of limitation, or will you stand in the truth of infinite possibility? There is a practice I want to give you that will strengthen your ability to obey the command, fear not. It is the practice of the pivot. The moment you become aware that fear has gripped your mind, you pivot immediately to truth. You do not argue with the fear. You do not try to talk yourself out of it. You do not analyze where it came from or why you are feeling it. You simply pivot. Fear says, "You're going to fail." You pivot. "I fear not. For divine intelligence guides me to perfect success." Fear says, "You'll never have enough money." You pivot. "I fear not, for infinite supply is my divine inheritance." Fear says, "You're not good enough." You pivot. "I fear not, for I am made in the image and likeness of God, and that is enough." This practice must become automatic, instantaneous, non-negotiable. Every fear thought must be met immediately with a truth thought. You are retraining your mind, creating new grooves, establishing new patterns. At first, the fear thoughts will come frequently, and you will need to pivot many times throughout the day. But persist. Each pivot weakens the habit of fear and strengthens the habit of faith. Each time you choose truth over appearance, you are building spiritual muscle. Each time you refuse to entertain the fearful imagination and replace it with faithful declaration, you are becoming more powerful, more free, more aligned with your divine nature. Let us now explore the mechanics of how fear locks doors and faith opens them. Every door in your life, every opportunity, every relationship, every avenue of supply, every possibility for good exists first in consciousness before it appears in form. The door is not a physical thing, it is a state of consciousness. When you are in fear consciousness, you literally cannot perceive the doors that are available to you. They are there, but you are blind to them. Your frequency is wrong. You are tuned to the channel of limitation, and on that channel, only locked doors appear. But when you shift into fearless faith, when you obey the command and release all fear, your perception changes instantly. Doors that were invisible suddenly become visible. Opportunities that you could not see before present themselves. People who can help you appear as if from nowhere. This is not coincidence. This is law. Fear contracts your consciousness. It narrows your vision until you can see only the problem, only the obstacle, only the impossibility. It creates tunnel vision where all you can perceive is what is wrong, what is missing, what could go wrong. In this contracted state, you become hypnotized by appearances. The closed door becomes all you can see, and you stand before it, pushing, pulling, beating against it, never thinking to look to the right or left where other doors stand wide open. Fear makes you stupid. It literally reduces your intelligence, clouds your judgment, and cuts you off from the infinite wisdom that is always available to you. But faith expands your consciousness. It lifts your vision above the immediate problem to see the larger pattern, the divine design, the infinite possibilities. In the expanded state of fearless faith, you become aware of solutions you could not have imagined from the fear state. You receive ideas, insights, intuitions that guide you to your good. You notice synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, divine appointments that connect you with the right people at the right time. Your intelligence increases, your creativity flows. Your intuition speaks clearly. This is why Jesus said, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." When you are not fearing, when you are in a state of trust and expectancy, the kingdom, all good things, all supply, all solutions can reach you. The channel is open. The door is unlocked from your side. I will tell you a story that illustrates this principle perfectly. There was a man who desperately needed employment. He had been searching for months, sending resumes, going to interviews, but nothing was opening up. His savings were depleted. His rent was overdue. His fear was mounting daily. Every morning he would wake up with anxiety tightening his chest. Every night he would lie awake, imagining worst-case scenarios: homelessness, hunger, humiliation. His fear became so intense that he could barely function. At interviews, his nervousness was palpable, and employers could sense his desperation. The more he feared, the more doors closed in his face. One day, at his lowest point, he remembered the command, "Fear not." Something within him snapped. He realized that his fear was accomplishing nothing except making him miserable and repelling the very opportunities he sought. He made a decision. He would fear not for one full day and see what happened. Just one day of fearless living as an experiment. That morning, instead of waking in panic, he declared, "I fear not. God is my employer, and my perfect work now appears. I am guided to the right place at the right time. All doors open before me." He said this with feeling, with conviction, with a strange new sense of authority. Something shifted in him. The tightness in his chest released. His mind became clear. He felt almost light-hearted as he went about his day. That afternoon, on impulse, he took a different route home, a way he never usually went. He passed a small business he had never noticed before, and something drew him in. He struck up a conversation with the owner, not about employment but just a genuine human connection. The owner mentioned in passing that he was looking for someone with exactly the man's skill set but had not advertised the position yet because he was not sure how to find the right person. Within an hour, the man was hired, at a salary higher than he had been making before, doing work he actually enjoyed. Do you see what happened? When he released the fear, his consciousness expanded. He became available to intuitive guidance. He took a route he had never taken. He noticed a business he had walked past before without seeing. He had a conversation he would have been too anxious to have from the fear state. The door was always there, but fear had made him blind to it. Faith made him able to perceive it, and fearless action allowed him to walk through it. This is the unlocking power of the command, "Fear not." It does not change the external world immediately, though often it does. It changes you, and when you change, the world you experience must also change. Now I must address those who say, "But I have tried not to fear, and still the doors remain closed. I have affirmed and declared and believed, and nothing has changed. How long must I wait? How much faith is enough?" To you I say, examine your faith carefully. Are you truly not fearing, or are you simply pretending not to fear, while underneath, the fear still churns? Are you declaring faith with your lips while imagining disaster in your heart? Are you affirming abundance while checking your bank account 17 times a day in anxious worry? You cannot serve two masters. You cannot fear and have faith simultaneously. You must choose. True fearlessness is not the absence of the feeling of fear. It is the refusal to give fear authority over your decisions, your words, your imagination, or your actions. You may feel the flutter of anxiety, but you do not obey it. You feel the whisper of worry, but you do not listen to it. You notice the temptation to imagine the worst, but you deliberately, consciously choose to imagine the best instead. This is active faith. This is the fearless heart. This is obedience to the command. And you must persist. Faith is not a one-time declaration. It is a sustained state of consciousness. You do not affirm truth once, and then return to fear-based thinking and expect results. You must abide in the faith consciousness. You must dwell there. You must make it your permanent address. Every time fear knocks on your door, you answer with faith. Every time doubt whispers in your ear, you shout truth in response. Every time appearances suggest limitation, you declare the unlimited nature of divine mind. This is the work. This is the practice. This is how doors unlock and swing wide open before you. And now we come to the culminating truth, the ultimate revelation that will set you permanently free from the tyranny of fear. You were never meant to carry this burden. Fear is not your natural state. It is not your divine inheritance. It is not who you are at the deepest level of your being. You are made in the image and likeness of God, and God does not fear. God does not worry. God does not lie awake at night imagining disaster. God does not tremble before circumstances or cower before conditions. God is perfect love, and perfect love casts out all fear. This divine love is not something outside of you that you must seek or earn. It is your very essence. It is what you are made of. It is the truth of your being. When you fear, you are forgetting who you are. You are identifying with the small self, the personality, the ego that believes it is separate, vulnerable, and alone. But this is not your true identity. Your true self is one with the infinite, merged with the divine, sustained by the eternal. From this perspective, what is there to fear? What can harm that which is eternal? What can threaten that which is one with all power? What can diminish that which is made of the very substance of God? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. All fear is based on the lie of separation, and when you remember your oneness with the infinite, fear becomes impossible. This is why the command, "Fear not," is not a heavy obligation or an impossible demand. It is an invitation to remember who you are. It is a call to return home to your true nature. It is permission to release the exhausting burden of trying to control everything, protect yourself from everything, anticipate and prevent every possible disaster. You were never meant to live this way. You were meant to walk through life with the confidence of a beloved child who knows their father is infinitely powerful, infinitely loving, and always present. You were meant to face each day with joy and expectancy, knowing that you are guided, protected, and provided for by an intelligence that never sleeps, never fails, never makes mistakes. But you must make the choice. No one can make it for you. God will not override your free will. The universe will not force you to stop fearing. You must decide, consciously and deliberately, that you will obey the command. You must say, "From this day forward, I refuse to give fear dominion over my life. I refuse to speak words of fear. I refuse to imagine fearful outcomes. I refuse to make decisions based on fear. I choose faith. I choose trust. I choose to fear not." And then you must live this choice, moment by moment, thought by thought, word by word, decision by decision. There will be tests. The universe will present you with situations designed to trigger your old fear responses. This is not punishment. This is strengthening. Every time you face a fear-inducing situation and choose faith anyway, you are proving to yourself that fear has no real power over you. You are demonstrating to the universe that you are serious about this new way of living. You are building the spiritual muscle that will carry you through any storm, any challenge, any apparent crisis. And each time you pass the test, each time you fear not in the face of fear-inducing circumstances, you become stronger, more confident, more established in the consciousness of fearless faith. I will share with you the practice that will seal this truth in your consciousness forever. Every night before sleep, spend 5 minutes in active, fearless affirmation. Review your day and notice where fear attempted to enter. Speak directly to each fear and cancel its power. If you feared financial lack, declare, "I fear not, for infinite supply is mine by divine right." If you feared rejection, affirm, "I fear not, for divine love flows through me and attracts my perfect good." If you feared failure, state, "I fear not, for divine intelligence guides me to perfect success." Then, imagine yourself moving through the next day in complete fearlessness. See yourself receiving good news with calm expectancy. See yourself facing challenges with unshakable confidence. See yourself walking through every door that appears before you without hesitation, knowing that every door that opens for you is your door, ordained by divine wisdom. Do this faithfully for 30 days, and you will be transformed. The fear habit will be broken. The faith habit will be established. You will look back at your old fearful self and wonder how you ever lived that way, how you ever allowed fear to steal your peace, poison your joy, and lock doors that were meant to be open. You will walk through your days with a lightness, a freedom, a power that you had forgotten was possible, and doors will open. They will open in ways you cannot now imagine. They will open easily, naturally, perfectly. Opportunities you could never have created through effort alone will appear. People who can help you will cross your path. Resources will flow to you from unexpected channels. This is not magic. This is the natural result of fearless consciousness. This is what happens when you obey the command. Let me speak plainly about what awaits you on the other side of fear. When you fear not, you become magnetic to your good. You emanate a frequency that attracts people, situations, and circumstances that match your fearless faith. You become a channel for miracles. You become an opening through which the infinite can pour its abundance, its healing, its solutions, its grace. You become who you were always meant to be, a conscious, deliberate, powerful creator of your experience, working in harmony with divine law, expecting good, receiving good, demonstrating good in every area of your life. The doors that have been closed to you were never locked from the outside. They were locked from the inside by your own fear. And the key that unlocks them is not found in changed circumstances, in more money, in better connections, in perfect timing, or in lucky breaks. The key is found in your willingness to obey the command that has been given to you from the foundation of the world. Fear not. Take that key, use it now. Turn it in the lock of every closed door in your life. Speak the words, I fear not, for God is with me. I fear not, for I am divinely guided. I fear not, for infinite power flows through me. I fear not, for every door that is meant for me swings open at my approach. And then walk forward. Walk toward the door you have been afraid to approach. Walk toward the opportunity you have been too frightened to pursue. Walk toward the dream you have been too timid to claim. Walk in faith, not in fear. Walk in trust, not in terror. Walk in the absolute knowing that you are not alone, have never been alone, could never be alone, because the infinite intelligence that created galaxies and set stars in their courses is with you, in you, operating through you, guiding your every step. This is the truth that unlocks every door. Fear not, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The kingdom is yours. It has always been yours. It is waiting behind every door that fear has kept you from opening. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for courage. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The command has been given. The authority has been granted. The power is available. Fear not. And every door in your life will unlock and swing wide open before you, revealing the abundant, joyful, prosperous, love-filled life that has been your divine inheritance from the beginning. This is your truth. This is your destiny. This is law. Fear not, and claim it now.